Hello, learner. Welcome to Mr. Quickest Teaches. I am Mr. Quickest. In this lesson, I'll be analyzing Seamus Heaney's poem Follower. Now, this analysis is part of the 15 poems in your GCSE or IGCSE anthology. And I've analyzed all the 15 poems into a course. So the course contains analysis of all 15 poems, like I've already mentioned, and also predicted questions as well. So the kind of questions that may come up, as you prepare or you're ready for the exam. The course also contains sample A-star or grade 9 essays. So those essays are to help you see, for example, how to present your information. So what you should include, for example, in the introduction, in the body, how to present your point, your evidence, embed your evidence, explain or analyze what you've written. In fact, some teachers say you should use PEAL, that's point, evidence, explanation, and then linking. So those are also options that you find as well in the essays. Now, additionally, you can also ask questions, as part of the course. There are portions or there are places that where you can ask questions. For example, you listen to an analysis and you need maybe a bit of explanations for a term or a word or something like that. You can ask that in the questions or the comments and field. Now, to gain access to the course that contains all these components I've mentioned, you can do that by subscribing for £5 a month only, or you can get the entirety of it for £45 a year. That means you get to save £15 in subscription or 3 months. So again, the analysis, predicted questions, sample A-star or grade 9 essays, and maybe questions as well. So for that, £5 a month in subscription or £45 a year. Now, additionally, if you need help in the other components of the English literature, like the prose, the drama, or the unseen, you can again join our tuition services. You can find the links to the subscription and also the tuition as well in the description box of this analysis. So you can do that. We also provide assistance as well for the other subjects like English language, history, geography, sociology, math, the sciences, triple sciences. If you need help with any of those ones, we have a team of teachers, very experienced teachers that will help you. The first lesson, like I mentioned, is a trial lesson for our tuition services. That means that you can try it and then see how you engage with it. If it's something that you like to continue, you can book for 1 lesson a week, multiple lessons a week. In fact, if you need to quickly be prepared for it, so you can have like intensive lessons where you have morning, afternoon, or evening lessons to make sure that you pass or you get the grade that you want to get. Now, the teachers are very, very experienced, like I've mentioned. Myself, for example, I've been teaching since 2008, but there are teachers, again, in our team that in the sciences, for example, that I've been teaching since 2005. So they are very experienced teachers that will grow your confidence. In my experience, I know that growing a student's confidence can move them 2 or even sometimes 3 grades. And that's what our teachers help with practicing past questions, how to manage your time, other things as well. Exam tips that may come in helpful. Now, if you have any questions or queries, you can send me an email. My email address is mrq@mrquickestteaches.com. You can see it written there nicely on the screen, or mrquickestteaches@gmail.com. Again, you can see it on the screen. So you can reach out to me, or you can even leave your comments or queries on the comments field of any of my social media handles where you find this analysis, and I'll reach out to you and see how best to help you ace your exam. Let's begin the analysis. Let's start by speaking about the poet, Seamus Heaney. So he was born on the 13th of April 1939 and passed on the 30th of August 2013. He was an Irish poet, playwright, and translator. He received the 1995 Nobel Prize in Literature. Amongst his best-known works is Death of a Naturalist, which was written in 1966, His first major published volume, American Poet, Lowell described him as the most important Irish poet since Yeats. Now, he was buried in St. Mary's Church in Northern Ireland. The headstone bears the epitaph, "Walk on air against your better judgment." And that's got him from his poem, The Gravel Walks. But I mean, I've analyzed one other of his poems, Meet and Break as well. That's also an excellent poem, even though it's quite, sad, because the young man loses his brother when he's in school. So that's a brief note on the poet Seamus Heaney. Now, this is how the poem appears. Sorry, I sort of constricted it. I wanted all the portions of it to appear. As I analyze it, it's going to break down a bit. But in terms of a summary of the poem is about this speaker who is telling us about his father and how his father is a very hard worker that plows and is into farming. And later on, towards the end, there's a switch in roles where he is the one that is now engaged in farming. His father appears to have lost all his strength. I think one of the key themes of the poem is the circle of life and also father-son relationship. I'll speak about the structure and other bits in the concluding portions of the analysis. Now let's begin the analysis by reading the poem, followed by Seamus Heaney. My father worked with a horse plow. His shoulders globed like a full sail strung between the shaft and the furrow. The horses strained at his clicking tongue. An expert, he would set the wing and fit the bright steel-pointed sock. The sword rolled over without breaking. At the head ridge, with a single pluck of reins, the sweating team turned round and back into the land. His eyes narrowed and angled at the ground, mapping the furrows exactly. I stumbled in his hob-nailed wake, fell sometimes on the polished sod. Sometimes he rode me on his back, dipping and rising to his plod. I wanted to grow up and plow, to close one eye, stiffen my arm. All I ever did was follow in his broad shoulder around the farm. I was a nuisance, tripping, falling, yapping always. But today, it is my father who keeps stumbling behind me and will not go away. Now, the poem opens in the first line with what the father is doing. So he says, my father worked with a horse plow. So that reveals that the speaker has a father-son relationship with a persona. And this is really important because father-son relationship is one of the key or the most important themes actually, because of the relationship between the speaker and then the persona. Now, he also reveals the activity that his father is engaged in. So he's working, right? And the fact that he's using a horse-drawn plow. Now, this is a very basic tool for farming, and he's doing that or plowing to loosen the ground and turn the soil over before sowing. That essentially is the action that we see in the first line, breaking of ground, and then the father-son relationship as well. Now, he begins to describe his father, and he uses simile to do that. He says, his shoulders globed like a full sail strung. Now, that provides vivid visual imagery of the spherical appearance and complete tenseness of his father's shoulders as he plowed. So he's using a lot of strength. And they also tells us that his father exerted a lot of effort or energy as he strives to break ground. Then he says, between the shaft and the furrow. Now, this reveals where his father would usually stand. Now, the shafts are like the pole-like handles at the back of the harness to the plow, while the furrow is a trench that is formed on the soil as the plow moves across the field. So he's telling us exactly, if you engage in farming or you know anything about farming, where his father stands. So that tells us that he's learning. He's looking at his father's actions and what his father is doing. He continues, the horses strained. Now that provides vivid visual imagery of the animals exerting a lot of energy as they worked. They were exerting a lot of energy, while at his clicking tongue is an onomatopoeia that provides vivid auditory imagery of the noise that the speaker's father made to cause the animals to push harder. So he's sort of signaling to them that push harder, push harder. And clicking tongue is an onomatopoeia that tells us that these animals are essentially one with his father. They respond to his father's directions. He does not need to speak. He just needs to click his tongue for them to continue. Now, in the second stanza, he uses a short sentence to describe his father. And that shows us his tone of awe or reverence or respect. The short sentence is an aspect, full stop. Now, that highlights his father's mastery of farming and tilling ground. It shows us the respect that the speaker has for his father. Now, in the next sentence of the poem, he tells us he would set the wing. Now, this shows that his father correctly placed the part of the plow that cuts the soil and turns it over. It tells you that the man really knows what he's about. Now, the words wing, sock, and head rig are all parts of a plow. Then he says, and fits the bright steel pointed sock. So this is his father readying. So think of it like, he's about to start plowing, but then he's showing the steps that his father would take. So he would set the wing and then fit the bright steel pointed sock. Now, the use of the word there sock, the description there, and fits the bright steel pointed sock, reveals what a sock is made of. It is made of steel. It also reveals its pointiness to the reader as well, and sharpness. Pointed shows that it's very sharp. And it also reveals that his father's expertise at correctly fixing the cutting blade or shed at the front of the plow that cuts the soil. So you see here that he's trying to explain to the reader that his father knows what he's about. He knows how to plow, and he knows how to ready to begin the plowing process. He now continues and says, the sod rolled over without breaking. Now this is very important because he's telling us that the top layer of the soil that's covered in grass, or maybe not covered in grass, did not break as it turned over. So that shows us how adept or professional, or how well his father was at the task. It doesn't break. It's like one beautiful string of sod essentially. So he doesn't do it and then break. He doesn't do it and then break. It's just some continuous, beautiful action that his father engages in. Again, to show his father's mastery of breaking ground and also readying the ground to plant. Then he continues and says, at the head ridge. Now this is a reference to the strip of land at the edge of the plowed field that is temporarily left unplowed. So it's left unplowed, from which his father can turn. So when he gets to that point, it's the head ridge. He's telling us the different actions that his father takes at certain points, in the field or as he plows. And now this next line is very important. With a single pluck of reins. Now observe that the second stanza flows nicely into the first stanza. We see the use of enjambment, but I'll come to that bit when I'm speaking about the form and structure of the poem. Now, with a single pluck of reins shows that he dragged the long narrow strap attached to one end of the horse's bit once. He did it just once. Why? Because he's an expert. So he was so masterful that he did not need to do it a second time to do it correctly. If you don't know what you're doing, then you have to drag and drag and drag. No, his father is a master. So with a single pluck, he just was able to do that. He was able to turn the entire thing around. Now, in terms of the themes of the poem, we see the circle of life. Father was strong before, now no longer has that strength. Father-son relationship. We also see time as a theme. Time as something that makes, it's a great level of. So then we see growth. The young man becomes grown. We also see the switch of roles with time. We also see love for nature with his father, and also something that he develops as well. We see farming and farm living. We also see generational continuity, among other themes. What other themes do you see? You can leave it in the comments field. Now, in terms of the point of view of the poem is recounted with a blend of the first person and then the third person points of view. So the first person is seen in the words like my, I, me, in multiple instances in the poem. Then we also see the third person when he says his, he, among others as well, there in reference to his father. So he's speaking about his father-son relationship, the kind of relationship that he has with his father. And it's quite a healthy relationship, actually. Now, in terms of the tone of the poem, you see the tone of awe, praise, like I said, poems, Also self-depreciation. The poignancy or the sadness is seen towards the end of it. We also see deep desire when he says, I wanted to grow up and plow, close my. So it's like this desire, earnestness to be like his father. There are also aspects that are quite joyful as well, when he talks about his father carrying him on the shoulder, among other things, in terms of the tone. Now, the next thing we look at is the form and structure of the poem. Now, it's very important that you write about the form and structure if you're looking to get either a grade 9 or an A star. Now, by the form and structure, the poem has an imperfect A-B rhyme scheme. So plow, furrow, strong, tongue, but then it's not perfect. If you look at the lines. So the poem also has like 6 quatrain stanzas or 4 lines in each stanza, which mimics a very organized way his father would plow the field. So it has like 24 lines in total. Sorry, I said 29. So 24 lines in total. Now, the use of the quatrain stanza, I think, makes the poem very organized. And like I said, mimics the plowing that his father does that we see in the poem. The poet also employs enjambment as well. So that's seen in the flow of words from one line to the next and from one stanza to the next as well. So if you look at the second line of the first stanza, you see his shoulders globe like a full sail strong between there. Then we also see that as well in the first line of the second stanza as well. Then we also see that stanzas 2 and stanza 3 are tied together with enjambment, with a single block of rings. So it shows the fluidity of the speaker's thoughts and his desire to also express himself, without any reservations to the reader, so that they know the kind of relationship that he had with his father and his pride in the way his father used to work in the field, among other explanations. So here you have it. Seamus Heaney's follower has been made simple. Like I mentioned in the opening portions of this analysis is part of a course that contains all the analysis of all the 15 poems in your GCSE or IGCSE anthology. So the course also contains predicted questions that are useful, to test yourself in terms of your preparedness for the exams as per the poems, and also sample A star or grade 9 essays. Those are also useful to show you how you should write your essays, what you should do in your introduction, the body, how to use conjunctions, write about the form and then the structure and also the conclusion as well. So those are helpful. Additionally, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below the course. Then you can access it for only £5 a month in subscription. £5 a month in subscription. Or you can buy the entirety of the course for £45 a year. That means you get to save £15 or 3 months in subscription, and you get access to all the elements. So the analysis, the predicted questions, and also the sample A star or grade 9 essays. Now, additionally, if you need help in the other components of the English literature, like the prose, the drama, the unseen paper, you can reach out to me, or you can sign up. You can find the links for both the course and also signing up for our tuition services in the description. The first lesson of our tuition service is free. It's a trial lesson, so you can join the lesson. If you like it, you can stick and stay. We can help you prepare for the exam in all the components like I mentioned, and also as well in the other subjects like English language, history, geography, math, the sciences, triple sciences. We have a group of teachers that can help you grow your confidence, practice past papers, teach you how to use your time, among other things. So you can book for one lesson, multiple lessons in the week for multiple subjects. Depending on availability, you can be prepared very quickly to make sure that you ace your exam. Now, if you have any questions or queries or things I didn't speak about that you want to ask me, you can send me an email. My email address is mrq@mrquakersteaches.com. That's mrq@mrquakersteaches.com. Or you can also send me the email to mrquakersteaches@gmail.com. You can see it displayed nicely there on your screen. Now, additionally, if you want to just maybe ask a question on any of my social media handles, or you want to engage me there, so that I can reach out to you and then see how best to help you ensure that you ace your exam. Because like I believe, if a student is confident, they can move 2 or 3 grades up. Thank you for joining this lesson. From me, Mr. Quickest. On to the next lesson. Bye bye.